Saul Alvarez was born in Guadalajara, Mexico, the youngest of 8 children, 7 of them boys who would all go on to become professional boxers. Saul, however, was the most unique. A red-haired Mexican child nicknamed Canelo, he became an easy target for bullying. And when he started fighting back, his natural gift with his fists became clear. In a nation where fighters are bred tough and early, Canelo turned professional at just 15.
El Canelo Alvarez!
Over the next 4 years, he built an astonishing undefeated 31-fight record, capturing the imagination of Mexican fans who believed they were witnessing their nation's next great champion.
Alvarez, a budding star in Mexico, is already in the Guinness Book of World Records.
His introduction to the American mainstream came in May of 2010 on the undercard of Floyd Mayweather versus Shane Mosley.
We're seeing one now. Beautiful right hand right over the top.
There, a real promotional push began, with Canelo's unique look and fan-friendly style marking him as a potential star.
And Tony Weeks is going to stop it right there.
Maybe we have seen a piece of the future.
The TKO win over Jose Cotto was followed by dominant victories over Carlos Boldemir and Lovemore Ndu, cementing his place on the world stage. With confidence in his potential, Canelo was quickly pushed into world title contention.
And Canelo Alvarez is trying to keep this incredible momentum that he's built up going.
In March 2011, he outclassed Matthew Hatton over 12 rounds to capture the vacant WBC light middleweight championship, his first world title at just 20 years old. He defended it with 3 stoppage wins over Ryan Rhodes, Alfonso Gomez, and Kermit Cintron.
Good combination by Alvarez.
Yet his team knew that beating contenders alone would not elevate him into superstardom. Big names were needed, and veterans like Shane Mosley and Miguel Cotto, faded but still respected, fit the bill.
But when Canelo lands, he's knocking Shane's head back.
Mosley was overcome with ease over 12 rounds, and a destructive 5-round performance against Josecito Lopez seemed to set up a lucrative clash with Puerto Rico's Miguel Cotto.
Who will win? Cotto will win. It's a good fight. I hope so, actually. I hope so too.
But with Cotto's surprise loss to Austin Trout, plans changed.
And still champion Austin.
Calls grew for Canelo to face Trout instead, who, unlike Cotto, was an undefeated 26-0 fighter in his prime, and as a relative unknown, presented a level of risk that Canelo's handlers preferred for him to not take. Canelo, however, knew the level of respect he would earn should he succeed. And in April of 2013, he stepped through the ropes to claim the most impressive scalp of his young career.
You have a conventional fighter, and there is Canelo dropping.
Canelo's decision to face Austin Trout so early drew widespread praise. It showed a maturity beyond his years and gave him the belief that he could compete with the very best. And that confidence quickly steered him towards the sport's ultimate challenge, Floyd Mayweather Jr., the pound-for-pound king and boxing's biggest attraction.
Teddy, we're watching Floyd make the walk to the stage. He looks confident, but then again, he always does.
The lure was irresistible, not just the career-high payday, but the promise of glory on the grandest stage. Mayweather's team, meanwhile, took advantage of both Canelo's eagerness and naivety by insisting on a 152-pound catch weight, 2 pounds below the division limit.
The big story, though, Al Bernstein, Canelo Alvarez, there's nothing left that can come off his body. 152, but he made weight.
The anticipation reached fever pitch as the bout went on to break records, generating $150 million from 2.2 million pay-per-view buys, making it the highest grossing fight in boxing history at the time.
Here we go.
The action inside the ring, however, introduced Canelo to a harsh dose of reality, as the elusive Mayweather glided his way to a decision victory to claim the WBC, WBA, and Ring Magazine titles that were on the line.
Why weren't you able to get it going tonight?
No, simplemente no pude agarrarlo.
For a young champion whose rise had been built on self-belief, the loss on such a stage was crushing. But instead of breaking him, the setback fueled his determination, as he vowed never to be outclassed again and sharpened his game with a renewed hunger to improve.
There's a lead left uppercut and referee.
He wasted little time with tune-ups, stopping the rugged Alfredo Angulo before facing the Cuban counterpuncher Erislandy Lara, who, much like Austin Trout a year earlier, presented a level of risk Canelo insisted on pursuing.
I didn't like this fight. It's a dangerous fight.
I want to fight Lara. Que Oscar no haya recomendado pelear con él, pero en lo personal yo quiero pelear con los rivales más peligrosos y ganar esta pelea por orgullo.
The tricky southpaw was an expert counterpuncher whose disengaging style had the potential to make Canelo relive some of the same difficulties he faced against Mayweather. But this time, the Mexican had the tactical sense to adjust, cut the ring, and ramp up the pressure with heavier punching to earn a close, split-decision victory.
Canelo
The hard-fought win over Lara restored much of Canelo's reputation, and his march towards superstardom gathered pace.
Physically, the photo.
He rattled off 5 more victories, including a decision over Miguel Cotto for the WBC middleweight title, as well as an all-Mexican showdown with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And with highlight reel knockouts of James Kirkland, Amir Khan, and Liam Smith, he reinforced his standing as both a dynamic boxer puncher and one of the sport's most entertaining attractions. But while Canelo was rising, a new force was terrorizing the middleweight division. Gennady Triple G Golovkin, holder of the WBA and IBF titles, had also picked up the WBC belt Canelo vacated.
Middleweight champion. Oh, big right there.
Apart from the decision over Daniel Jacobs, Golovkin was on a merciless 23-fight knockout streak and widely regarded as the most dangerous puncher in boxing. The Kazakh represented exactly the kind of risk fans wanted Canelo to take. And after months of delays, the blockbuster clash finally came together in September 2017.
Everyone is expecting a violent classic. Will Triple G and Canelo author the latest chapter in the glorious history of the middleweight championship of the world?
In many ways, Golovkin became the measuring stick for both Canelo's lowest and highest moments. Their first encounter was difficult, with Golovkin appearing the stronger, more commanding fighter over 12 taxing rounds. Most expected his hand to be raised, but in a highly controversial decision, the fight was scored a draw.
This is officially a draw.
The backlash was fierce, with much of the criticism unfairly aimed at Canelo, and calls for an immediate rematch became impossible to ignore.
Do you want a rematch, Canelo?
Si la gente lo quiere, hacemos la revancha.
If the people want it, yes.
Yet just as the second fight neared, another twist deepened the rivalry. Canelo failed a drug test in camp, leading to a 6-month suspension.
Golden Boy Promotions, Canelo's promoter, came out yesterday and blamed tainted Mexican meat for the positive test, saying...
Even in his absence, anticipation for the rematch only grew. And after tense negotiations, the sequel was rescheduled exactly 1 year after their initial meeting.
Just the fact that Golovkin is attacking Canelo's character. Canelo, he's had it and he's fed up.
Gone was the civility of the first build-up. In its place stood bitterness and resentment. Canelo, usually reserved, wore the weight of criticism openly, and when Fight Night arrived in Las Vegas, both men unleashed every ounce of that animosity. Unlike the first bout, Canelo pressed forward with aggression, determined to prove a point.
Golovkin's had a lot more scoring shots in the third than he did in the second.
Golovkin, relying on his jab and footwork, boxed off the back foot before rallying late to close strong. What unfolded was a war of staggering intensity, surpassing their original clash.
They have appreciated every moment.
But this time, the decision belonged to Canelo. Though razor-thin on the scorecards, his victory was seen as earned, even by his detractors. And after a year of controversy and doubt, Canelo Alvarez finally secured the most defining win of his career. The victory over Golovkin elevated Canelo to the very peak of the sport, giving him both the profile and financial clout to embark on one of the most dominant runs in recent boxing memory.
The ref's going to wave this fight over. Big body shot.
After two successful outings against Rocky Fielding and Daniel Jacobs, he briefly jumped up to light heavyweight to stop a faded Sergey Kovalev for the WBO title, making him a three-weight world champion.
There's fifth gear. Canelo is the light heavyweight champion of the world.
But Canelo ultimately settled on a singular goal: to stay at 168 and unify the entire super middleweight division. His mission began against the most established champion, Callum Smith, whom he outclassed to claim the WBA and WBC titles.
Canelo comes back and he is throwing much harder right now. Gets Callum Smith up on the ropes, lands a right hand.
Next came Billy Joe Saunders, the slick WBO champion, whose reign ended with a satisfying bone-crunching assault.
And it is over! They have stopped the fight!
Finally, that left the IBF champion, Caleb Plant, a skilled southpaw who promised to halt Canelo's march to history. But across 11 rounds, Plant's resistance was gradually eroded before Canelo closed the show with a punishing finish.
The fight's all over. Alvarez has done it. It took a long time to come, but when it came, he finished it quite brilliantly.
The victory crowned him as the first four-belt undisputed champion in super middleweight history, further solidifying his status as the sport's premier name. His triumph at 168 was historic, but not unique. Other champions across different weight classes had also unified their divisions. And determined to separate himself further, Canelo sought to make history as the first fighter ever to become undisputed in two separate weight classes.
I'm really excited and I'm gonna prepare myself really good because this fight is gonna be really hard.
To do so, he moved back up to light heavyweight to face the WBA champion Dmitry Bivol. Unknown to many American audiences, Bivol was a technically brilliant operator. Fleet-footed, sharp at range, and built on the disciplined Soviet style of boxing. And stylistically, he was perhaps the toughest opponent Canelo could have chosen at the higher weight.
I think people are sleeping on Bivol. I think it's going to be a great fight. I think Bivol can go in there. He's been waiting for this opportunity for a long, long time.
Normally, Canelo's speed and skill had been enough to offset the many size disadvantages at these higher weights. But on this occasion, Bivol responded with nimble movement, crisp combinations, and masterful control of distance. Canelo struggled to establish himself as the Russian swept the majority of the rounds, handing the Mexican the second defeat of his career. For 3 years, Canelo had seamlessly moved between 3 divisions, collecting belts in each. And although a rematch clause was available, his team advised him to return to super middleweight, where he already reigned undisputed and where the physical disadvantages were less pronounced. Back at 168 pounds, he resumed control. First came a decisive win over Gennady Golovkin to close out their trilogy, followed by dominant defences against John Ryder, Jamal Charlo, Jaime Munguia, Edgar Berlanga and William Skulls. Each ended in wide unanimous decisions, with Canelo rarely troubled. But it's only due to the Mexican's brilliance have his recent challenges appeared less threatening. Between his 2018 victory over Golovkin and his 2021 undisputed crowning against Caleb Plant, fans have grown accustomed to record-breaking performances against naturally larger opponents. Men with height and reach advantages across super middle and light heavy were dispatched by a fighter who began his rise as a welterweight.
Those shots, believe me. 1, 2, and down goes Yildirim.
And even now, despite not recording a stoppage win in nearly 4 years, Canelo remains untouched. Across 3 entire divisions, no opponent has yet shown the tools to overcome his vast experience, exceptional ring IQ, and fight-changing power.
Gets the back and lands a big right.
With his legacy already cemented, each passing year brings fewer blockbuster showdowns worthy of Canelo Alvarez. Yet for his next assignment, the Mexican great has accepted a peculiar challenge. Terence "Bud" Crawford, a switch-hitting genius and 4-division world champion in his own right. Unlike Canelo's recent opponents, Crawford is not relying on size or strength. Having spent most of his career in lighter divisions, his leap across nearly 3 weight classes forces him to depend on pure skill, timing, and nuance.
And there's a right, and he goes down again.
For Canelo, it presents a puzzle unlike any he has faced in years. One that may demand the full depth of his craft, reaching back to the sharper, more intricate tools that first secured his success at light middleweight.
Conventional fighter, and there is Canelo.
Oh, there it is, a 3rd time.
And so, in a sport where true super fights have become rare, boxing once again finds itself on the cusp of something extraordinary. Two of the era's defining champions colliding in a bout that will not only test Canelo's longevity, but also redefine what it means to be great in this generation.